out of the way. All right. Hey guys, how's it going? Getting in a lot later than I had originally planned on to do this video for you all. But this comes up from time to time, and some people tend to have a lot of lower back pain, a lot of lower back tightness. This is generally due, at least in my experiences, to having anterior pelvic tilt. And that means that the pelvis is tilted forwards. Okay? That's like pretty much normal posture here for everybody. Except that this is not normal posture. What is normal posture is this, where the spine is far more straight. The curve in the lower back is much, it's still there, it still looks nice, but it's much less pronounced from here. But truly that's how most people stand, is this way. So what happens when we do that, when we have that, because most people have it and they really don't realize it. It's far less common to have people that have a normal spine, a neutral spine. It's far less common also to have people that have the posterior tilt, where they walk around and their pelvis is pushed forwards all the time. Those two things are far less common anymore. Part of that's due to our lifestyle. There's a lot of sitting anymore, so that causes our hip flexors to be tightened, which then pulls us forwards. Another thing that I very, very firmly believe contributes to this is being pregnant. Being really big breasted. So if we have a lot of weight here, or if we have a lot of weight here, or maybe even, not even being pregnant, but if we have a significant amount of weight that we are carrying around on the front of our body, the body is going to compensate by sticking the hips back further, and then you're going to over-exaggerate by trying to pull up forwards, because if you just let yourself go this way, you will eventually tip over, right? So then we really develop like excessive curvature in the lower back. So if you have been pregnant, especially multiple times, if you have a job where you sit a lot, whether you're at a computer or driving, or maybe that's just your lifestyle, or I forgot what I was going to say, but or being pregnant, or having the weight, or sitting, those things are all going to increase your chances of having that pelvic tilt. So since we don't realize we have it, then we decide that we're going to get all fit, right? So we go to the gym and we're doing our stuff at the gym, and we're learning to squat, and we're learning to deadlift, and we're learning to do all these leg things where we hinge, right? And what is a hinge? A hinge is moving the hips back. But because we haven't learned how to hold our spine, we're sending our hips backwards with our pelvis forwards. And what are we doing here? We are shortening the space in between all the vertebrae. We're also not doing anything to lengthen the hip flexors, and we are continuing to put strain and stress on the muscles of the lower back, the erectors and the QL, because they're trying to do the job of the hip flexor and of the abdominals. This is so common. And so we go about lifting and everything is cool and hunky-dory for a while. And then all of a sudden our back is fucking killing us, and it's so tight, and we don't understand why. So we stretch and we stretch and we stretch, and that doesn't really do anything. And we take a break from lifting and we come back and the problem's still there. So then maybe we start seeing a chiropractor. Maybe we go to the massage therapist. Maybe we get some other treatments done. And what we need to be doing is really, really working on rolling out and lengthening the hip flexors. So your hip flexor attaches, and it's not just here on the front of the hip, okay? So, yes, those are hip flexors, but we have other, one of the quad muscles, which I know, but I cannot read, rectus femoris, runs from down here in the quad up to the waist, okay? That's one of the muscles that holds your leg on. It's part of the hip flexor complex. When we have our psoas, which is here, and then we have the iliopsoas, which runs in, but that attaches inside the abdominal cavity. So then oh my gosh, there's so many things that tie into this. So what we need to do is roll all of that out. A foam roller can be useful here on the quad, on the rectus. You can use it on the top, on the psoas to a degree. A lacrosse ball, though, is going to do a better job of getting into the hip flexor, especially if the iliopsoas is really tight, because you can run the ball up here inside. Well, you would call this your oblique, but really it's part of the hip flexor too. I mean, you have obliques, but the hip flexors are going to be in there deeper. But then there is another ball. You can get them on Amazon. They usually come in a package, like a multi-pack, but there'll be a bigger ball. It's about this big, but it's made out of the same material as a foam roller. So it's like that kind of styrofoam rubber, but I don't even know what it is. And that works really good to get in here. So we want to make sure that we're rolling that out. Then we also want to make sure that we are rolling out the glutes, because often people think that the glutes aren't firing, but they have to fire. If your ass wasn't working, you wouldn't you wouldn't be able to move. Okay, so sometimes the glute can be inhibited because it's really tight. Because it's not used to doing the amount of work that it should be doing, because the muscles of the lower back are doing the work for it. So learning how to roll those out, get that rolled out, roll this out, roll this out. You can do some stretching for the hip flexors and absolutely stretching for the glutes too. I should have all of those stretches up on my YouTube channel. And then I was going somewhere with the glutes. And then when we're working on trying to bring the balance back and strengthen things, what we really need to focus on is making sure that the glutes are working, that you feel them working and not the lower back. So if we're doing our deadlift, you know, and here we are in like how we normally stand, and then we're going to set up for a deadlift. I need this to be a little lower. Hang on, I have an idea. I'm going to move you guys. Hey, Jessica, how are you? Bear with me here for just a minute, guys. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I have a stand in here and I'm totally not using it. All right, so if we are doing our deadlift, right? And this is how we stand, right? So we are standing there. Now you can see, it looks normal, right? But it's totally not normal. And this is how I always stand. I know that my posture is not good, and I've been working on it for like freaking years now. So if we don't correct this and this before we set up for our deadlift, this is what's moving it. Even though you maybe don't feel the load here, you feel the load here afterwards, like on the days after, right? And then you're like, holy shit, my back fucking hurts. And you're like, I don't know why I'm doing everything right. But we're not, because we're here, and so we set up, right? We fix nothing, and then we stand up. That was a terrible deadlift. So here, and we stand up. Doing all of that, the pelvis is still forwards. So to fix it, what we have to do is tuck the tailbone and get the pelvis neutral, the spine neutral. So to hold it there, what we have to do is contract the glutes, get the bottom of the abs to fire. So the whole abs are firing, but you should feel it here as well. Okay, so we're here, now we're standing up straight. See the difference? And we're gonna set up. We keep the core really tight as we're hinging, right? And as you're hinging, you should feel the bottom of the abdominals pull in. You should feel it fire right here, right now. All right, so then we're here, core is tight. These are working a lot. And then another part that's really important here, you can see too how flat my back is that we have a good base. So what we want to do with the feet is not only press through the heels, but we also want to take our toes, I should have stepped out a little bit, and kind of grab them onto the floor. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to stand up. Okay, at the top, we're going to reset because our body is going to want to go back to that natural posture. So we're going to tuck the glutes again, or tuck the tailbone, contract the glutes, get this tight, and then we're going to go back down, set the bar down. The more you practice this, the easier it's going to get. The faster you get those glutes contracted back up at the top, the faster you can get that spine back to neutral and reset. And that becomes really important the heavier of the weight that we're moving, right? Because it gets really heavy. So that's how we work on focusing on fixing the posture for that lift. For your squat, sorry. You guys know my brain's not working. All right, for our squat, back squat. Here we go. Front squat is much easier to correct posture on, but back squat, here. You go down, right? Come back up. Most people stay right here and then they go back down. When we come back up, we want to come up all the way to the top. Flex your glutes again and then go back down. And the same thing with the feet here. Do you see how straight my back is? It is not like that. It is like this. So here, go all the way down, up. So what I'm doing is, again, contracting the glutes. That pushes my pelvis forwards where it's supposed to be so it's neutral and takes the load off the lower back. So it's resetting the spine every single time we come up to the top of the exercise. So, those are the two most important things. Another place that I see that this happens all the time is when we're doing the hamstring curls. So you lie on the bench and you kick the thing back and you're supposed to be working the hamstrings. Except the hamstrings generally aren't firing that much. You're putting more of that load onto your glute and more of it into the lower back because the design of the bench further intensifies that pelvic tilt because the bench is tipped. So if you have access to a flat bench to do those, it's much, much better. Doing them on a floor with the resistance band is good. Doing them on the floor with a dumbbell between the feet would be a good substitution until you can build up the hamstrings so that they're firing and not the glutes and not the lower back. That's another good way to help correct the posture because what we have to do is strengthen that posterior chain so that we can get the body to think more so that the glutes are going to pull the spine neutral and you won't forcibly have to get the pelvis neutral by contracting the glutes all the time because they will eventually get strong enough that they'll hold that sacrum down, which is what we want. So making sure that you are rolling before and after your workouts. If this is something that's been ongoing for a really long time, I would roll the hip flexors every single day. You can roll twice a day. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to hurt it. It may not be comfortable. Excuse me, with the bigger ball and the lacrosse ball, you can use those on the erectors. It's not going to hurt it. It's not like the foam roller. You can just get the ball in there and roll one side and then transfer it over to the other side. All right. So I know that is a ton of information. I really hope that you guys found some value in it, maybe some things that you can apply. I'm going to go through here because I see some comments. Kayla, you made it. Yes, that's what I was going over at the very beginning, Kayla. So then you can also do like posture resets. I would do them multiple times throughout the day. And you can do that, you can do that by just thinking, because I'll do this like when I'm training people, I know that I have a tendency to just kind of go forwards, right? In fact, I'll be looking at myself and I'll notice that I'm totally forwards. And I'm trying to stand up straight, but this is really not straight. So what I'll do is I'll bring myself back because I know that I have all my weight on the ball of my foot when we don't want that. So bring my weight back to my heels more, and then contract the glutes, which brings the sacrum down, which pushes the pelvis forwards. And then I'll try to stand like that for a while. That will reset the posture. If you are in an office or somewhere where you have access to a wall, let me see if I can bring this over here. I'm being my own cameraman. It's not a very good wall. All right, that'll work. I think it might chop my head off though. Okay, you can use a wall. So if you back up to the wall and you put your feet against the wall, right? You can see that's like how I want to stand, right? That's not the normal way to stand. That's excessive curvature of the lower back. That's excessive pelvis forwards. So what I do is soften my knees, because when your knees are locked, then the pelvis is more forwards. And just by doing that, I haven't even contracted my glutes yet, you can see how much of a difference that makes in the back. And then now I'll contract the glutes. And I can get like 2 fingers in there now. So the knees have a lot to do with setting up for the base too. So if you have access to a wall and you can do this several times a day, that would be excellent. And just kind of train your body to what a natural relaxed posture should feel like. I know it's not always possible to get to a wall, and that's why I started doing it just free, standing out on the gym floor. Alrighty, I am going to, I think I've covered about everything that I can think of. And of course, I'm always learning more and more about, how we can make things better, how we can correct things that don't work quite right, because, as we go through life, we've developed a lot of habits, and our body has certain ways of doing things, and there can, always be a better way to do things. Yeah, exactly, Kayla, yes. When you, exactly. So if you worked with me and you know how to do a wall sit, yes, like that, where the spine is neutral. All right. So anyhow, I am going to hop off here. I do have to feed everyone, but if you have questions, go ahead and drop them on here. I will absolutely get back to you. If there's something you didn't understand, or maybe you want me to do a form check, just hit me up and we'll schedule a video so that we can get that done for you. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I don't think I'm going to have time to sign on and do a live, prep live, so I'll have to get that to you guys tomorrow. I still have a lot of stuff to do tonight. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and I will absolutely talk to all of you tomorrow. Have a good night.